Hi, my name's Chris, and today I'm going to talk to you about a mysterious puzzle that appeared on the Deeproot Pinball website. If you're in the pinball community, you're probably very familiar with this puzzle. A lot of folks on Pinside have been talking about this puzzle, wondering what's going on, who created this puzzle, what's it all about. And as you're starting to watch this, if you're guessing that I'm the one that created it, you're right. And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about why I created the puzzle. I'll give you some background about the situation in general. I'll have a Zoom call with the puzzle solver and prize winner, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's coming next. So first of all, a little background. For those of you that don't know, my company Turner Logic was contracted by Deeproot Pinball to make all the software for their pinball machines. And it was a great opportunity for me and my team. We got to work with a lot of talented people. They had mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, 3D animators, artists, pinball designers. It was one of the most multidisciplinary projects that I ever had a chance to work on. And as I said, I enjoyed it tremendously. And I think to describe what happened as a tragedy would really be an understatement, with so many people losing so much. And the pinball machines obviously not being released and investors losing money is a terrible thing. That said, I personally enjoyed the opportunity that I had to work there, and I'm appreciative of it. And I would like to create something new based on what I learned in working with Deeproot. And because of that, I had a desire to introduce myself to the pinball community, and really that's what this has all been about. I could have just gone to Pinside and created an account and said, "Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm interested in doing something with pinball," and that could have been fine, but I was looking for a more creative way to do that. And so I came up with this idea. I was gonna try to introduce myself through this puzzle, and I saw an opportunity when the Deeproot Pinball website was expiring. So I saw it expiring. I was able to purchase it through the GoDaddy auction process, and to start out, I just put up a really basic landing page. It had the old Deeproot logo and a kind of a cryptic message that when decoded said, "Check back soon for something interesting." And I thought, well, I'll put this out there and see if anyone even ever finds it. I didn't know if anyone was even looking at that anymore. And I thought, give it a couple months and maybe someone will find it. Well, to my surprise, it wasn't a couple months. It was actually a couple of hours. And the Pinside user, Blueberry Johnson, is the one that found it. And he is a very diligent researcher on that forum. And maybe I shouldn't have been surprised. But anyway, he found it within a couple hours, and he posted on the forum, like, "Look what I found. This is back up. What's going on?" And at that point, the forum just kind of exploded with all of this interest about what in the world is happening here. And so I then had to figure out what I was going to do next. And so I created a word search, and it looked like it was just kind of a basic word search. It had words that were relevant to the machines and things that Deeproot was making. And what the folks didn't know is that there were hidden messages embedded in the page and in the images themselves, and it was going to lead them on this puzzle solving clue chase. So that was the beginning of everything, and it was very neat to see how people were so engaged in trying to follow along in solving this puzzle. My goal was to make it entertaining and enjoyable, and I hope that it was. And I think I'd like to have a Zoom call with the puzzle solver and prize winner. I want you to get to meet him. I want him to get to talk about how he solved the puzzle. I want to present him with his prize. And then we'll come back, and I want to talk to you a little bit about my plans and what is coming next. So for now, let's talk with the prize winner. So I'm here with Pinside user Seraph, who goes by Gabe in real life, and I want him to be able to introduce himself, and then he is the official puzzle solver. And so I want to congratulate him on that, and we'll talk a little bit about the puzzle. So Gabe?
What should I say? You sort of said everything people need to know, probably.
Yeah.
I've been a pinball nerd for many years, computer nerd for many years, and I love solving puzzles. So, when I stumbled across the puzzle in the Deeproot thread, it seemed like it was kind of, a confluence of a lot of my interests. And so I jumped on it, and certainly lots of us were putting our heads together on it, lots of good clues coming from lots of directions. But ultimately, I was the lucky one that managed to get the final answer.
Yeah, you did great. I was kind of watching the posts on the forum, and I think that it was particularly neat that you solved both the first and the second phase.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I missed the first bit of it. We were out of town until mid-June, and so the puzzle had been going on for, I don't know, 10 days or so before I even knew it was a thing. So by that point, a lot of people had discovered the clues and started doing the base 64 decoding. And so it had gotten to the point where the rubber was sort of hitting the road, and you really needed to switch gears from that and move towards something else. I was familiar with steganography prior to that, but I had never used any of the techniques or any of the tools. I just understood the basic concepts. And it felt like it was moving in that direction when it was talking about, looking deeper, not missing the forest for the trees and all that sort of thing. I thought there must be something hidden beneath the surface here that we're not seeing. And then the dino clue, I kept tossing that over and over in my head and kept looking for different techniques that might get me there. And when I saw steghide, I thought, that sounds right. Steganography, coming up with that wasn't that difficult, but then trying to determine which tool it was that needed to be used to do the decryption, because there are tons of different steganographic techniques out there. And so narrowing it down to the right one. So that clue really pushed me over the edge. Just like, that completely lines up with the name of the tool. Like I say, I had no experience with steganographic tools, but it seemed like that was the right way to go. So when I found that whatever the French website was that would cycle through a bunch of them, I thought, well, this is probably a good thing to try. And then the password popped up on that site. I don't know if you had previously attempted to solve it on there.
That's exactly what it was.
That was nice. Eventually I found the StegSeek tool, which would go through and actually brute force the password.
Right.
So I could have done it that way, but that sort of gave me a head start since you had already been there.
Yeah, it was funny. I was just testing different tools because I didn't want someone to have to download a program to try to do this. And so I'm like, oh, good, there's some online tools. And so I tested a few of them and they all worked. But I guess if you actually have a secret image with a special message in it and a password that you want to keep secret, don't use that tool because it'll cache your password.
It was one of the top Google searches,
It's so funny. Yeah. I'm kind of glad that it worked out that way because I think by that point, like it had gone long enough on that phase, and the fact that I didn't have to give another clue to reveal the password was probably to everybody's benefit. Yeah, and then the second phase, you guys, I think you were so close, like so quickly. Really, I mean, I was like, oh man, they're gonna figure it out instantly, and then it ended up taking a few more clues.
Yeah. Once we got the error codes fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And after that point, and looking at those even initially, it was fairly obvious that there were no zeros, there were no A through F. So I'm thinking these are not hex numbers.
Right.
This represents something else. And so it felt very much like some sort of, okay, you got a 2D chart somewhere that you're supposed to be indexing into.
Yep.
But I leaned too much on that clue from the first phase that said, this word search is a red herring.
Yeah.
Which really meant searching for the words is a red herring, right? But there were other things in the puzzle. But I leaned too much on that, and so I played with the puzzle a little bit and then pushed it to the side.
Yep.
And then, of course, the ciphers biblical thing sent us all off on the @bash cipher path.
Oh, that was so funny. Some of these clues, like, I tried to be creative with the clues. So like you said, in the first phase, the word search was a red herring, right? You had to look deeper, embedded in the image. But in the second phase, I thought it was kind of interesting to take what was really useless in terms of visually useless, the word search, in the first phase, and make it the key to the second phase.
Yeah.
So,
no, it was really cool. Once I solved it, I thought, oh yeah, that was really neat. It just took me a while to get there. And I think I even had done a little of that with the indexing into it and just didn't come up with something. And if I think, I didn't even, because it said the origin of the cipher is biblical.
Right.
So the origin, that's the key word there. And
I know, it was so funny. It's so misleading, but so on point at the same time, which I really loved that clue when I came up with it. I was like, oh man, like they're going to think it's like, oh, they got to go and look at a cipher that was used in the Bible, but it's
Right.
literally like
That's exactly what we
the
did. Yeah.
Cartesian origin is right in the corner.
And then once that last clue came out, I thought, okay, I need to go back and look at the puzzle again.
Yeah.
And I thought, fire and brimstone, there it is. It's staring me in the face. And I didn't have high hopes, honestly. And I started, 3 across, 2 up, and just doing that number. And I messed up one of them. So at first, I don't remember what, but it didn't make sense, whatever I came up with. So I searched for that phrase on Google, and Google auto-corrected it to the actual proper phrase.
Funny.
It's like, thank you, Google. And then I went back and looked. I was like, oh, yeah, I mistranslated one of the letters. And I went back and did it correctly. I was like, oh, yeah. And then found the thank you page, and here we are.
Super awesome. Well, really, congratulations. I mean, I know you put a lot of effort. I know a lot of other people did as well. And it seemed like you got a lot of likes on your post when you solved it. Everybody was rooting for you.
Yeah, well, I like I say, yeah, and I think you're right. There were a lot of people contributing. I could probably name 4 or 5 people that I couldn't have done it without,
Yeah, it was really neat to see the collaboration on there. So I hope that it was entertaining for the folks on the forum. Like I said, it was hard to find the right balance between something that is challenging enough, but not too challenging, and also like how frequent to release the clues. I did a once a week thing because I thought, people are like, oh, I need another clue, but at the same time, if you give a clue too quickly, it almost it takes away the pleasure of solving the problem, know. And so hopefully I struck an okay balance, but you did a great job.
Well, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, I've got a prize for you. It's right here off camera. I'm going to lift it up. I hope you really like it. We'll see.
All right. What do we got here?
Your very own Razaback.
No way.
So it's one of the curved ones, and there's only a few that exist. So.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I will display it. You can't see behind me because it's blurred, but I have all my pinball posters and back glasses and translights and stuff up there. So
that's awesome. Maybe you can put it on a shelf and put a light behind it, and you've got a memento of a memorable story.
Yeah. 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 There we go. Cool. All right. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all the effort that you put in, and congratulations again. And there'll be more to come in the future, and I'll look forward to getting to talk with you about it.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. So now that you know what the puzzle is all about, we know who won, I think it's time to talk about what's coming next. And so I mentioned earlier that I'm interested in doing something in pinball, and my plan is that I'd like to start an extension to Turner Logic. I'm going to call it Turner Pinball, and this is going to be the beginning of a long journey of me and my team trying to build pinball machines. And I know it's going to be a long journey, but it's a journey that I feel passionate about. As I mentioned, the work in pinball is extremely multidisciplinary, and for me, those are the most fun projects. In my experience, I can work months on an app, and I could show it to someone and say, hey, look at this cool app that I built. And they look at it and are like, oh, yeah, that's okay. And then, I spend a couple hours in my garage and tinkering with some electrical stuff, and I've got some things that flash some LEDs, and I show it to someone, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. And I really think that there's just something magical about taking the software and combining it with the electronics and the mechanics and creating something tangible that people can see and touch that makes it so much more interesting than software itself. And so I love working on projects like that. That's why I really enjoyed the pinball project so much, and that's why I want to go forward and continue something. Now, I want to make it abundantly clear, and I think this is incredibly important. Turner Pinball is not Deeproot Pinball 2.0. My company is completely independent of Deeproot and everything that they did. I obviously learned a lot there. We'll take inspiration from those things and leverage the connections that I made there to help me in my endeavors. But this is not Deeproot Pinball 2.0. I've got my own ideas about how things should be done and the lessons that I learned and how I want to incorporate those. And so my project and my effort and my journey in pinball is my own journey. And so I just want to get that out of the way because I think that's really important, and it's going to be important to the pinball community. And so I keep mentioning this word journey, and I think this is a journey, and I think this is the very beginning of that journey. I recognize that it's going to be a long and difficult process, and I am going to need the support of the community and also other members of other pinball companies who've done this before and have more experience than I do in doing these things. And as I go forward, I'm going to offer up questions and suggestions on the way I think that things could happen and try to get feedback from the community and say, hey, is this really an innovation to you? Is this something that you're looking for? Or is this maybe something that just costs extra that's kind of pointless? And so I want to have those discussions. And I think the best way for me to do those is to start producing content that's going to allow you to follow me on this journey that I'm on. And so this video is going to be the first of many that is going to be documenting this journey of Turner Pinball. Now there'll be other stuff on this channel. It's my general channel, and there'll be other projects that I'm working on. Most of it will be technical in nature and hopefully something that you're interested in. But I would love for you to follow me on this journey. In order to do that, please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see what comes of it. Another thing that I think that's important, I want to let you know that I'm not raising money to do this project. I know that that's something that's happened a lot in the pinball community and that it's frowned upon. It's not something that I intend to do. I am putting all my own money into this, my own time, the time of some of my team, and it's not the only thing that I have to work on, and so I'm going to be working on this in parallel with some other things, but I'm not taking on any investor funds for this. And also, I don't intend to try to sell something until I actually have something to sell. And so those are things that you can expect of me. If you ever see me acting or behaving differently than what I just told you there, please call me out on it. But no intention of raising money and no intention of selling something before I have it ready for you to have it in your hands. And so that's kind of my mentality on this whole thing. I'm excited to start this journey. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I think it's going to be fun. It's something that I think is worth pursuing. And if you want to follow along, please subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.